bringing news from a different page. Truth served hot and bold and strong. Every week we sing along. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Stories that make you think and pray. A light awaits at the end of day. Guided by the stars and stripes. Through the stormiest of nights. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. When the world feels like a fight, hold your ground, stand for what's right. In the truth we'll find our way. Ed and Ronnie light the way. Red, white, and true we'll stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Red, white, and true will stand tall. Echo the call loudest of all. With hearts of faith and liberty, together we find unity. Together we find unity.
Woohoo! Almost there! Phew, made it! Now for some TV. All right, Red, White, and True with Ed and Ronnie. This is gonna be great!
This is going to be great. Boy, that's pressure, Ronnie.
A little bit. A little bit.
Right out of the chute, pressure. I bet we can handle the pressure. Or at least I'm pretty sure you can. I mean, we can.
We'll figure it out.
So what's going on your neck of the woods?
Not much. Standing outside in that cold and rain earlier has got me feeling a little under the weather, but I'm all right for the most part.
Well, he's making reference to earlier today at Old Union, we had an Easter egg hunt. And I think I explained my thoughts on Easter egg hunt the last time we were on here. I got to tell you, all week long, the weatherman sucked. Really bad. Early in the week, it showed that it was going to rain like from Tuesday on till tomorrow. And then Tuesday showed up and we may have got a sprinkle, but no major rain. Wednesday, same thing. Thursday, I think Thursday night we might have had a little more rain, but still, everything's good. Friday, the forecast for Saturday looks terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And so, you know, we're doing lots of praying. You know, Easter egg hunt, way more fun outside than they are inside. Praying and praying and believing and doubting and wondering what God's going to do. And so we get together at noon today. Let's back up to when we got out of bed this morning. Ronnie and I both did this. We both, and you know, Ronnie's upstairs, I'm downstairs. I don't want to give the wrong impression anywhere. But we woke up and each of us looked at the weather forecast, and it said that it wasn't going to rain until about 3 o'clock. Well, Easter egg hunt is 2 o'clock, 1400 military time. And we're like, yes,
Perfect.
that looks outstanding. That's as perfect as it can get. 15 minutes later, I refreshed my phone and it showed it was going to start raining at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
If I think about it in a little bit, I took a screenshot of the radar about that time, and a strain that went almost the entire north-south in Indiana was coming straight across, and it looked ugly. And it rained a little bit. That's what Ronnie was talking about, being out in the rain, and the wind was fierce. But out where our church is, it's always way worse out there than it is in town. And so we get together about 12:30 and try to figure out, we going to do it? We not going to do it? We going to do it all inside? Your mom said, in her infinite wisdom, they won't melt.
I melted a little bit. I'm not going to lie. A little bit.
Nate said, let's give them all big trash bags and use them as raincoats. And so
He was stuck on that one.
yeah, we made the command decision to go ahead and do the young ones, the really young ones, inside, because that wind might have blown a couple of those little ones over. I mean, it was, and the bigger kids, Ronnie and Nate and little Brian, they all were out hiding the eggs. And guess what? 2 o'clock showed up. We started right exactly on time. We didn't push it up to, well, the weather's not as bad right now. We advertised 2 o'clock, and we didn't want somebody to come in late. It was barely sprinkling at 2 o'clock. You think God's not good?
Right.
You look at the forecast.
Oddly, even enough, the wind died down too. The wind was nowhere near as kicking as what it was.
We had the same issue last year, and we had actually made the decision to have it all indoors last year. And at the very last second, Nate went and grabbed the eggs and said, there ain't no rain right now. It may be wet, but they'll be okay. And so 2 years in a row, God has opened that door. And so many times when we've had events, whether it be with Old Union or other things, and we've lifted it up to prayer, and the weatherman says, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And, I got to admit, I was feeling a little bit under the gun last night, because we not newspaper advertise, but we promote and promote and promote, and then you don't want them to show up if it's raining extremely hard, right. But you don't want to look like you have no faith. So we just trusted in the Lord, and they had a wonderful time.
I was sorry. I wasn't ignoring you. I was trying to pull this up. This was the kids coming up out of the chute, on their way out. And that was just the beginning. So we did one giant tote out of the 3. Now, had we done all 3 giant totes, they'd probably still be out there picking up candy at this moment. And I'm pretty sure a lot of it also ended up in Shelbyville, because that wind was kicking hard. But I was really proud of all the kids. They all shared, made sure everybody got pretty much the same amount, and there was no fighting or stealing or nothing. And
Did it
Well,
really work?
there is actually a really good story that went in just before those pictures were taken. No, just after those pictures were taken. Uh, there was a Hispanic couple and their son that didn't know us. We didn't know them. And that's who that kind of thing is for. You know, we can do things for our own kids anytime, any weekend, any Sunday. And so this was wonderful. And he went out with the big kids and he got him a big basket full of Easter eggs that was filled with candy. And they come in and we have them go ahead and empty the candy out of their eggs. They keep the candy. We keep the plastic eggs to use again next year. And so he got through his, and there was 10 special eggs this year. And on the inside of the eggs was one of our church business cards folded up with a number on it. And if you found one of those, you got one of 10. They were an Easter basket that we went to the store and got a chocolate bunny, a bluey something or another that had candy in it, and a Snickers, a small Snickers. And so that boy didn't have one. And some of our kids that are there all the time, they're good this way. They're amazing kids. Took one that they had, folded it back up, put it back in the egg, and went over and put it in his basket. And he
I did
was the
not know that.
happiest little guy when he came up to get his basket. He was just so excited. And you see, every one of them heard about Jesus. Every one of them heard that Jesus loved them, and they got to do something special for somebody that all I know about him is his name is Roberto. And so that seems about as Christ-like as you can get in my estimation. So, Ronnie,
Yes.
what do you think?
I thought it was great. I did not know they did that. I know Randy's grandson found one.
Yes, he did.
And a couple other visitors had found some. So
Yeah,
It was a great time.
Doug and Amber's the one twin that was in, she found two of them, so she got to share with her sister.
oh,
And
good.
that's another story altogether.
Good.
But what a wonderful time. And, you know, everything going on in the world, and we got some things to talk about over in Iran. All, you know, things happening here in the States. Everybody's traveling this weekend and forgetting that the Easter weekend is about the death, burial, and resurrection of our Savior. And I think we took a little time out and paid tribute to the Savior.
I forgot I had more pictures.
And the hits just keep on coming.
Not gonna lie, a lot of them have Alice in it, but I was a little.
Well, it's okay to be a proud papa,
Yeah. So yeah, not gonna lie, she was in a lot of them, but
If you would stay with us, folks, at the end, I'm going to give the updates for Thursday, Friday, Saturday of Holy Week. And we're going to do something that we don't normally do. We've got a short part of a Christian song that has to do with Easter that we're going to play. Then we're going to say goodnight. And then the outro is a song between 4 and 5 minutes that is one of the best Easter songs I've ever heard. So if you'll stay with us, we're going to do all of that at the end. And God bless you all for being with us. Thank you. If you are new, if you'd like us, subscribe to us, whatever it is on the um, social media platform that you're on, do that. If you wouldn't mind, if you're listening right now, throw your where you're from in here. We love to interact with our guests, and so even if you're somebody that's here all the time, throw something in. We haven't got any comments yet. We've
I
been
know it.
talking for a
I
while,
know it.
and
Oh, now we got a comment.
leave it to your mama.
Right.
She says she's right in front of me, and literally, she is right in front of me.
Bill and Tanya.
Hey, there you go. I wonder if we'll get to. Wonder who'll be the farthest. Wonder if it'll be England.
Could be. Could be.
Karen is listening from Hope.
Town.
How does that work? That she's in Hope and she's our neighbor, and we're on Pearl Street in Columbus. She works in Hope. Glad you're here, Karen.
Yes.
So what do we got first, Ronnie? What do you want to go with?
The Corners is not frozen anymore? The corn.
What
does that mean? The corn.
Corn.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So Mom made a fantastic meal earlier, and I asked her if it was frozen corn, and she says no, it's cooked.
And it was good too.
It was made. Yeah. For me, there's a difference between canned corn and frozen corn and fresh corn. Personally, out of the three, I choose frozen. I think it's amazing. But yeah, so it was delicious. I ate way too much. Well, I've got some news stories that we can jump into, and then I've got some stuff that I wanted to cover as far as Good Friday goes.
Great.
Sean Ryan had a guy on who is an expert, and man, some of the stuff he talks about is just phenomenal. But real quick, I've had this story for a week. Last week we talked about JD Vance and had the video where he was talking about UFOs and how he said UFOs could be demons flying around. Well, this came out on a very popular news source. JD Vance warns UFOs could be demons flying around Earth, vows to get to the bottom of it. Vice President JD Vance speculated that UFOs could actually be demons flying around the Earth. I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyways, but that's a long discussion. Vance told conservative podcast Benny Johnson, I mean, every great world religion, including Christianity, the one I believe in, is understood. There are weird things out there, he later added. When I hear about an extra natural phenomenon, that's not where I go to. The Christian understanding is there's a lot of good out there, but there's also a lot of evil out there. And I think that one of the devil's great tricks to convince people is that he never existed. So you got to love liberal media, which would take one little thing that he says kind of in jest or is as a funny, and they twist it into breaking headline news that, oh, there's aliens, or like when Obama said something about he believes in aliens. Oh, he believes in aliens. There's aliens out there. And then, here's JD Vance talking about it. Notably, right-wing pundit Tucker Carlson has conveyed similar beliefs about unidentified anomalous phenomena being demons rather than aliens. And the funny thing is the first time I had ever heard of or even considered aliens being classified as demons was from you. You were the first one to bring that up, that I had never considered it. So, Tucker Carlson also claimed to have been attacked in the middle of the night by a demon and left with claw marks while sleeping next to his wife and his dog.
Okay, there's a built-in joke there somewhere. There's got to be.
Yeah. So, but
did his wife file for the divorce the next day or anything like that?
I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so there's that. I've had that and I wanted to cover it. And so we'll see. The president still promised the UFO files to come out. We're still waiting on that. But we waited for how long on the Epstein files? So
There you go. There you go. Well, Marco Rubio, who is doing an amazing job as Secretary of State,
absolutely.
he pulled the green cards of two Iranians. One has a last name that, if you follow what's gone on there in Trump's first term and in this term, the last name Soleimani. If you remember, they assassinated him. He was a major general in the Iranian Guard. Here is this story. Now, since the names are foreign, I'll try not to butcher them too hard. But
you're going to butcher them.
I'm going to butcher them. One of them is the niece of Soleimani, and the other one is the niece's daughter. But here's what Marco Rubio had to say. Until recently, Hamida Soleimani Afshar, I think I came close, and her daughter were green card holders living lavishly in the United States. Afshar is the niece of the deceased Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani. She is also an outspoken supporter of the Iranian regime who celebrated attacks on Americans and referred to our country as the Great Satan. This week, I terminated both Afshar and her daughter's legal status, and they are now in ICE custody pending removal from the United States. The Trump administration will not allow our country to become a home for foreign nationals who support anti-American terrorist regimes. Now, if you remember, there was a big deal made when Rubio was given that task. Of course, if the Trump administration does something, the liberals have to be 100% against it. So they made a big deal of it. And but Ronnie, what sense does it make? First of all, even getting their green card to start with, but the niece of the guy who was basically the mastermind of everything going on at that time, ISIS and all of those things. Yeah, let's let his family come in America.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I'm sure there's no ill will that we, killed her family. I'm sure she'll be just fine.
We love it here.
I don't
Death
get
to
it.
America.
I just, yeah, and that's like, all these parades and everything, and people protesting ICE, and they're waving Mexican flags and, Venezuelan flags. It's like, well, if you love your country so well, go back there. Why come here and turn it into, whatever third world crap hole you came from? If you want to be here, then be proud to be here and actually act like it, And you were talking about Sharia law last week, weren't you? Talking about Sharia law? That's the same thing. Same thing.
Well, it would almost be treason, in my estimation, for the Trump administration not to kick those people out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, what about free speech? What about this and what about that? That's for American citizens.
That's right.
Not green card holders. You can't be a green card holder and come here, put America down, put Americans at risk, and think we're going to be okay with it. Maybe last administration that worked, but right now, April the 4th, 2026, that ain't happening. And it should never happen again. It should not happen. I understand that they lived out in LA, liberal Looney Tune area to begin with. So their neighbors are probably upset.
Fruits and nuts.
There you go. I'm looking down through. here, Pete Hegseth reposted what Donald Trump had said. Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God, President Donald J. Trump.
And I have a video on that.
And that could go down in the history books. I mean, that is good.
Yeah, I've got a video on that.
In just the last few hours, Trump laying out a new ultimatum for Iran. So what is he demanding now?
Alex, President Trump says he's not backing down from his deadline. That is just 2 days from now for Iran to reach a ceasefire agreement with the U.S. Now, we've seen him push back this deadline 3 times now, but he says that he's holding firm this time. He had this to say on Truth Social this morning. Time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. That's what he wrote this morning around 10 a.m. And Senator Lindsey Graham, that Republican senator who has been one of the White House's biggest advocates when it comes to this conflict, he says he spoke to President Trump this morning, and he says he's convinced now that the U.S. will use overwhelming military force against the Iranian regime if there is not a diplomatic solution to this conflict and they do not open up that Strait of Hormuz. But we're seeing this pressure from the White House at a time that this conflict is incredibly fraught. As you just heard from our colleague, there continues to be a search for this missing second crew member, and Iranian officials are telling their citizens to find this person alive, potentially raising the stakes for a hostage situation. But President Trump told NBC News yesterday that he doesn't believe that this situation will impact negotiations. And we've seen Vice President J.D. Vance take a greater role in what remains to be indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran, particularly because Iran, frankly, has been distrustful of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, who typically lead these kinds of negotiations on behalf of President Trump.
Boy, that is a lot of good information in a very short clip, because it talks about the missing airmen. For those, and that happened since, I'm pretty sure, since we were on, hasn't it?
Yes, and I've got videos on those as well. There were 2 planes shot down. A fighter jet and an A-10 Warthog, I believe.
Well, let me give my thought on something that she said, and then let's just go ahead and cover that right now. She read the quote from Trump, and then you factor in that we're missing an airman. And separately, I read that Iran is offering like a $60,000 reward for that airman, and God knows what they will do, dead or alive. I mean, they want him alive bad, but even dead, they're going to they would do something horrible. But given the fact that that happened, given the fact that there's already a timeline, sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours, I fully expect the gates of hell on Iran.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to get a whole lot more spicy. I guarantee it.
Well, we blew up a very important bridge. There's many more of those. And that may not sound like a big deal, but they said that the one that they got is going to like cripple traffic in Tehran, in and out of that city. They've even started on oil fields, electrical or grid lines, and those things, mostly out of concern for the general population. But yeah, they're about ready to cut loose. Ronnie, go ahead with it.
Well, yeah, they're getting ready to cut loose, especially because of this. And I'll show the videos about the pilot here in a second. But this is, Donald Trump's not going to let this stand.
And let's get straight to the breaking news that has been breaking over the last few minutes. Another alert here, another strike. And as you look into the distance over central Israel there, you can see that thick plume of smoke from an impact scene. Now, from our experience, that is not one of those smaller cluster munitions, a bomblet from those. That looks to us like that may have been a direct missile strike, which would be one of the first we've seen in this area for quite some time. You can tell just by the thickness of the smoke there that that is much more than one of the bomblets from a cluster munition. Now, we've been under attack here in central Israel for several hours this morning. This is the second or third alert that we've had. We're waiting.
That's what I was getting at is, Israel, Holy Week, they're getting smacked down right now. But Trump's main concern right now, I'm sure, is this downed pilot.
Iran's military command has just announced on state TV that they shot down the F-15E using a new air defense system. And they say they are confident that that will ultimately give them, the Iranians, control of their airspace. That would, of course, be a monumental shift if it were to happen. There is obviously always some bravado and bluff in Iranian state TV commentary on this. But the search, meantime, goes on for that missing crew member from that F-15E. We have seen on Iranian state TV pictures of some of the wreckage, pictures of the ejector seat believed to have been used by the pilot who was successfully rescued. But the weapons systems officer sitting in the back seat of that F-15 is still missing at this point. The F-15E went down over southwestern Iran, a remote mountainous area, not an easy area in which the U.S. search and rescue teams can operate. They came under small arms fire. Some of the helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft involved in that search. Two of the helicopters, as we understand it, were hit at one point. Crew members injured, but they did make it out to nearby Iraq safely. And as we understand it, those crew members...
They made it to nearby Iraq safely, and that's a good safe zone, apparently. That's kind of a weird thing to say. But this is about the second pilot.
CNN has now confirmed a second U.S. jet shot down, this one an A-10 Thunderbolt known as a Warthog. The plane went down in the Persian Gulf. The pilot ejected and was rescued safely. These A-10s have been flying multiple missions over Iran. It's a single-seater, and this comes following the shoot-down earlier of an F-15. This one, a two-man crew. Search and rescue efforts began immediately. Those search and rescue teams were able to recover one of the pilots. The status of the second member of that crew is still unknown. Together, this shows that Iran continues to have a capability to take down and endanger U.S. aircraft, but it also fits with our reporting yesterday that it maintains significant missile capabilities to strike around the region, a whole host of targets, including here in Israel, but also Iran's Gulf neighbors.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I thought we owned the air over there. I thought that's why we had aircraft carriers and strike groups, and I thought we owned the air over there. When I heard this, I was appalled.
Well, I think we're going to find that. I think we're going to find that they got some air defense weaponry from either Russia or China.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, and because we owned the air over there. I know C-17 went down, lost the entire crew. That could have been any kind of malfunction. I don't think it was shot down or anything like that. But the A-10 Warthogs, if you don't know too much about that plane was a gun. They built a gun, and then they said, well, let's make this gun fly. And so they put wings on a gun, and they used to years ago here at Atterbury, they would fly overhead and you hear whomp, and that was those 810 Warthogs, and that's like 1,000 rounds they were shooting down range. That's how fast that thing fires. The plane actually has to fire up its thrusters when it fires the main gun because it fires with so much force, it'll push the plane backwards in the air. It's literally crazy. They built a gun and then said, hey, let's make it fly, and that's the A-10 Warthog. So those things aren't easy to shoot down, and they're very powerful, and it's kind of scary that they got one. Plus an F-15. I mean, those are top of the line. You know, that shouldn't happen. So,
you got anything else on what's going on in Iran?
No. I do have another person has gotten fired in the Trump administration. I can play that.
Go ahead.
Hexeth has fired Army Chief of Staff Randy George, who was the Army's top uniformed officer, along with 2 other generals. The Pentagon confirmed the firing, saying that George would be retiring from his position immediately. According to the New York Times, Georgia's senior Army officers reacted with anger and frustration to the news of General George's dismissal, characterizing it as the latest blow to a service that already feels under siege by Hexeth. The firing of George is the latest in a wave of meddling that Hexeth has involved himself in at the Pentagon. NBC News reports that Hexeth has interfered with the promotion of more than a dozen senior military officers, which include Hexeth personally blocking the promotions of 4 officers set to become 1-star generals. 2 of them were black and 2 of whom were women. According to the New York Times, in the weeks ahead of the defense secretary blocking their promotion, Hexeth has been pressing Secretary of the Army Dan Driscoll and General George for months to remove the officers from the promotion list. But Mr. Driscoll and General George refused, citing the officers' long records of exemplary service.
Of course, liberal media has just got to throw that little jab in there. 2 of them are black and 2 of them are women. So, of course, they're not going to say.
Let me just say that
over there doing the Lord's work.
The headline showed that was the the New York Slimes.
Yeah.
New York Times. And no, it was good information to have. And we always need to be reminded that that's how the liberal media does things. That is how they do things.
Yeah.
Now,
here's a good question. If we have satellite imagery, why can't we see exactly where the missile is shot from and blow that spot up? So that's been a huge problem. The Russians and Chinese, especially, they don't have specifically just static missile launching sites. They have trucks, essentially, that are missile launching sites. They'll pull up, shoot a missile, and boogie out. And that's why by the time they task a satellite or a drone or something to find that location, they've already moved on and they can't find it. Now, one thing I found the Chinese have been doing is they've disguised these missile trucks as cranes, pretty much like they did in World War II, when they made fake towns and fake buildings to fool the Germans over bombing World War II and the Blitz. They're just like a big air up thing that they put over top of these missile sites or these missile trucks, and it looks like a regular construction crane. Well, then they don't want to shoot down or shoot up a regular construction crane, but that's the problem with a lot of them, especially in that area too. It's mountainous and very rugged terrain. They pull out, shoot. They could probably go back into a cave, and they'll never know. They'll probably never even find the launch site. So, but yeah, if it's Russian or Chinese technology, I guarantee you that's what it is. It's on wheels, or something where they can shoot one and take off. So,
2 things. That was like genius in World War II when they did that.
Oh yeah,
because it was to throw the Germans off about D-Day. I mean. D-Day was a surprise, but the concept of D-Day was not a surprise. That the Russians were expecting it to happen, and didn't they used one of the major generals, Patton, or one of those 2? I say Patton and MacArthur. I'm pretty sure one of those 2, and I think it was Patton. They put in charge of that, to which if they had, their intelligence, well, Patton's there.
Yeah.
And so that was genius in itself. And
they actually used inflatable tanks, and they swung them around in different areas and set up all these inflatable tanks. And then Hitler said, well, here's their whatever division tanks. So then he would send forces there, and they were just inflatables while everybody was waiting on the beaches, ready to, waiting to storm the beaches. But yeah, they built fake towns to fool the bombers during the Blitz. They had an airfield actually that they were lining up these planes on to go for D-Day, and they built a roof over this airfield and made it look like just like a field. And how German intelligence couldn't tell the difference between a field and oh my gosh, 3 days ago that was an airfield. Now it's just a big grassy open area pasture. I don't know, but I guess technology back in World War II. They didn't have satellites like they do now.
I can totally relate to the story that you told about the mobile. I've started to say what I'm going to. The mobile air defense systems. When I was in Fort Campbell, and we had jamming systems.
Oh yeah.
And we had direction finding machines that were part of what my job did. And those stationary jamming systems were basically a suicide mission for you to turn that on and jam the site, because enemy direction finding would locate that. I mean, it put out so much power and energy, we would have been setting ducks. But before I left, we got jamming devices that were about the size of a laptop, much thicker because, this was way back. And you mounted it in the back of your Jeep, and you could be jamming an enemy signal going 50 miles an hour down the road. And,
that's awesome.
They're not going to find you then. Well, I mean, they could luck into finding you, but by the time they even realized they were getting jammed, that you were cooking down the road. And
we can talk about this all day long. I can tell you about Operation Meatball, where they fooled Hitler into pulling forces out of Sicily so they could go through and attack Sicily, and they used a dead drug addict from England that they put into a military officer's uniform and put stuff in his pockets and a fake wife and a fake story, and put him in a submarine and took him out in the ocean and dropped him off in the middle of the ocean, and he floated up. And it's a cool story. We can go into all that, but we got.
Yeah, I was going to say
we got Good Friday.
Maybe we ought to have a World War II history.
Oh yeah,
night.
Absolutely.
You're right. We could talk for a long time, but we do have Good Friday, and we'll go with that since it's in the past now.
Yes. So let's see here. I'm not going to play all of this, but if you get a chance to listen to Sean Ryan, there is so much. He had on a Catholic priest, and he did a lot of talking about exorcisms and stuff. But the guy he had on recently, and I think this is right. If not, okay, right here we go.
This may be the exact date.
I'm sorry, that isn't the right one. This one.
Well, I think that's the perfect way to end this.
I have to tell you, though, I want to tell you the 7 reasons I believe that Jesus rose from the grave. And I can do it in 60 seconds, or I can do it in 60 minutes. You tell me what you want.
Let's just go.
Okay.
Let's go longer than 60 seconds.
Okay. I can do it in 60 seconds. But what I want people to know is, based on the evidence, Jesus' resurrection is the only way that we ultimately make sense of the suffering in our lives. Romans 8:18, Paul said, "All the sufferings I endure now cannot compare with the glory that will be revealed to us someday." That's the number one reason I believe in the resurrection. Suffering doesn't make sense without it. Number 2, Jesus called it. He foretold it. You've heard of Babe Ruth calling a shot, Joe Namath calling a shot, Muhammad Ali. Nobody called their shot like Jesus did. Jesus was constantly predicting his death, burial, and resurrection. Mark 8:31, Mark 9:31, Mark 10:33 and 34. This is where Jesus said, the Son of Man, which was his favorite self-designation, that comes out of Daniel 7. He uses it 69 times. Remember, Sean, we only have 89 chapters in the Gospels. We have parts of 26 days of the life of Jesus. 1/3 of the Gospels is what this program has been about. the death, burial, and resurrection. It all points to that fact that energized the church in Acts 17:6 to turn the world upside down. So it's the only way we make sense of the suffering in our world. Jesus foretold it. Jesus also adumbrated. He showed he had power over death. Mark 5, he raises Jairus' daughter from the dead. Luke 7, he raises the widow of Nain's son from the dead. And then, of course, John 11, he raises Lazarus from the dead. I've been in Lazarus' tomb in Bethany. Many Christians don't go there because it's West Bank or whatever. I had a great time there. I got all the way down to the tomb, Sean, and I literally yelled out, "Lazarus, come forth!" Just because I wanted to be like Jesus. It would have sounded duro exo, literally stand up, walk out, and greet. So Jesus showed he had power over death. Fourthly, this is really fascinating. All of the textual and archaeological evidence authenticate the resurrection accounts that we have in the Gospels. Jody Magnus, who is an atheist archaeologist from the University of North Carolina, when studying the death, burial, and resurrection passages in the New Testament, guess what she says? The Gospels get it right. Fifthly, this is unique. I just wrote this for, co-authored it with Craig Evans with...
I'm going to cut that there because it gets pretty long. But so he was basically talking about how it's not just written in the Bible and some story told over and over and over again. This stuff has actually happened. They have found things that all point to it. And one of the weirdest things that I found is that April 3rd is actually the date they were talking about as the day that Jesus was crucified, which was yesterday. And they, like, a lot of scientists and people agree that Friday, April 3rd was the day that Christ was crucified.
This may be the exact date that Christ died. And perhaps the strongest piece of evidence comes from quite the unlikely source. Here's what we know about the day Christ was crucified. Caiaphas was high priest, Pilate was Roman governor, and Tiberius had been emperor for at least 15 years. This condenses plausible dates to between 29 and 36 AD. And in that window, only 2 Passovers began on a Friday, the day of preparation. Considering the length of Christ's ministry, the 33 AD date seems a little bit more likely. But here's where things get interesting. An Old Testament prophecy describes the moon turning to blood on the great and awesome day of the Lord. Now this seems to describe a lunar eclipse, where the moon turns red. But what are the odds that there was a lunar eclipse visible in Jerusalem on April 3rd, 33 AD? Well, lucky for us, NASA has a catalog of every eclipse in the past 5,000 years. And guess what date a lunar eclipse visited Jerusalem? Friday, April 3rd, 33 AD. Now this is cool and all, but to be clear, it is still simply speculation. The fact is, when Christ died is far less important than why he died. He gave his life for love of us, to offer a worthy sacrifice, so that we could inherit eternal life.
Now, that's not the same guy that was on the Sean Ryan show, and I still have more videos from him, but I just thought I had to get that in there. Just unbelievable how all that lined up. I mean,
think about what he said at the one point. An atheist archaeologist. I mean, just let that 2 words sink in. Atheist archaeologist, and he can't disprove.
Yeah. Said the Gospels got it right. But I mean, how can a book who everybody claims has been translated and translated and translated and written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten, how can that book nail that exact date? I mean, almost to a T. Because it's already science proven, not science fact, that lunar eclipse happened on April 3rd, 33 AD. Just as the Bible said, it was Friday, April 3rd, the 33 AD. So 0 AD is the year Jesus was born. Jesus started preaching, and when he was 30, he was crucified when he was 33 AD. So isn't that crazy how that it just, you can't make stuff like that up. So, well, I mean, if that story could be right, couldn't all.
Well, if you made stuff like that up, you would be wrong on a very frequent basis.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So continuing on, this is about the Roman weapon and then the crown of thorns.
Can I hand you this? This is a replica of a Roman flagrum. That is rawhide, and those are lead balls. And we know based on the evidence that he was scourged with 2 executioners. And that is when Jesus endures 700 lashes. We have counted on the shroud 372 lashes, but we do not have the lateral sides. And by the way, every part of his body was flogged, including his pelvic region. One of those balls came around the face of Jesus and literally blinded one of his eyes. Many victims never even made it to the cross, and that's why Isaiah 53 says, by his stripes we're healed. Isaiah sees that prophetically 700 years earlier. I'm an expert in Roman crucifixion. Of all the crucifixion examples that we have from antiquity, we have only one exemplar of someone that was crucified with a crown of thorns, and that's Jesus of Nazareth. These are 3-inch Bethlehem thorns, Sean. When they dry, they're as sharp as nails, so I'd like to hand it to you, and I just want to describe it to you while you process it. This is a replica which matches, because we have 30 to 50 puncture wounds on the head and the scalp of the crucified man. This is what was thrust on Jesus' head. Jesus is first flogged 700 times. Then they put the crown of thorns on his head. Pontius Pilate stands up next to Jesus. Remember, his wife warned him in a dream, have nothing to do with this man. And yet Pilate says, "Ecce homo," in Latin, behold the man. And the crowd, full of Jews, began to yell, "Crucify him. Crucify him, crucify him." They want him dead.
So if that doesn't show the suffering, at least the beginning of, I don't know. I don't know.
Not to mention, they made him carry his own cross, while he was beaten down, and there's no way he had any human energy in him.
And I have a video of the path he took, as a matter of fact. I don't mean to be stealing all your thunder, and I'll give it all to you. I just wanted to.
No, you keep going.
So I kind of went down a rabbit hole today with all this, but that video there, it showed a place where he rested his head, and they still have it, kind of pointed out. So, again, obviously, this isn't a made up story. This isn't a fiction story. This is obviously it happened. Now, one of the things that I take issue with is maybe the Shroud of Turin. I've seen a replica of it. I've heard fakes have popped up. Same thing with like the Ark of the Covenant and stuff like that. A lot of artificial or artifactual history, I guess. Like what do they call it? The Spear of Victory is the spear that the soldier poked into Jesus' side, and blood and water came out. So I don't know, but this had some really interesting facts on it real quick.
There's a criminologist by the name of Max Fry, and he takes pollen samples from the shroud. And do you know what he finds out? There are 58 pollens on the shroud. 38 of them are from Jerusalem. They only bloom in springtime during Passover. The rest of the 20 pollens follow the provenance of where the shroud has been for the last 2,000 years.
Are you serious?
We know Jesus is crucified on April 3rd, AD 33. Sean, it's the best established fact of the ancient world. If we cannot believe that Jesus was crucified under Roman crucifixion based on the sources and evidence, we shouldn't believe that Caesar crossed the Rubicon in 49 BC. Jesus' death and resurrection is the best evidential fact established from late antiquity, and the evidence bears that out.
My apologies. Let me recorrect that. That one, I believe. The other video I had that I did not save was about the Shroud of Turin has some kind of 3D effect. It looks under a microscope like a 3D effect. And they're saying that there's no way to recreate that. There's no way that any sort of fabric could have this 3D effect of the face of Jesus and the wounds and all that. But I'm not 100% positive on that. But that right there, I can absolutely believe in it. And again, with the pollens and everything, that's just further proof. I mean,
yeah,
you can't make stuff like this up.
When archaeologists and people that are scholars in those areas, they don't ever find anything that would debunk that Jesus and Christianity is what, or that the things in the Bible are made up, or every time they find something, it just proves even
Point
more.
straight to it, right?
Well,
point straight to it.
I'm going to save my my recap of Holy Week until just after. But there's a lot of Holy Week news that is really cool. Record number of baptisms in the United States. Dioceses nationwide report sharp increases in new members, led by there's one in Detroit, which the number they had was the highest in 21 years. Campuses like the University of Pittsburgh saw nearly 5,000 students at a worship night with hundreds of baptisms, while places like LA, Phoenix, and Notre Dame limit attendance due to crowds. Pastors point to seekers finding community and purpose amid uncertainty, though researchers note national data shows no broad revival yet. Well, I'm telling you, if we get a broad revival, we are going to be rejoicing if those things are already taking place. I got a short video that this came from Chad Prather, and if you know us, you know that Amy and I are both huge Chad Prather fans. I'm going to have to share my screen to get this. This came from him, but I've seen it several different places online.
Oh.
Did you have that one too?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, let me get over to that real quick.
Go for it.
And we will, now that I'm already there.
I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is.
Mine had a better song to it.
Well, I wasn't even. The entire second half of this, whatever from here forward, probably going to blow up the censors and all that. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Right. Right.
But Chad Prather,
what are they going to do? Demonetize us?
Yeah, right. Chad Prather says was one of the coolest things he had ever seen, and that was at a church somewhere in Texas. Do you happen to have, so that I don't jump on yours, Trump at his desk? It's very short. Well, it's a minute and 47 seconds. You got it?
I have a 35-second one, and then another one about the White House Easter things.
Go with both of those, please.
Okay.
In the spirit of joy and renewal this Easter, we also celebrate the extraordinary resurrection of faith and religion in America. As I have often said, to be a great nation, you must have religion and you must have God. In churches across the nation on Sunday, The pews will be fuller, younger, and more faithful than they have at any time in many, many years. Religion is growing again in our country for the first time in decades.
Happy Easter. This is a very holy week for us.
This afternoon, I'm delighted to join the countless Christians across the country and around the world as we prepare to celebrate a thing called Happy Easter. On Palm Sunday, Jesus entered Jerusalem as crowds welcomed him with praise, honoring him as king. Yet he had not come to take a throne, but to carry a cross, not only to reign, but to save. And on Good Friday, the Son of God was nailed to the cross, crucified, and he died for all of us. It was a day of darkness, but it wasn't the end. By any means, it was not the end. On Easter Sunday, the stone was rolled away and the grave was empty. Christians everywhere rejoiced in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It was the great miracle. People from every nation, language, and background can take on any difficulty, press through any trial, and endure any hardship. With Christ, not one thing can separate humanity from the powers of God's everlasting love.
Good stuff.
Anything else video-wise? Because my next part is just my audio. Just me talking. How about that?
Nope. All I got's that drone show that we already just watched, but it's okay.
Well, we had some really good comments.
Yes.
Bill and Tanya with, they always find proof it really happened. That's an amazing comment. It's amazing how this next generation is getting it. Christ is King. And amen to that as well. So on Monday, we went through what happened on Sunday, the triumphant entry, and Monday, when Jesus turned the tables. Wednesday, we did Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're going to finish up the week tonight. And we might just talk a little bit more about the resurrection on Monday. You know, we're taking Holy Week up to right where we are, and so there was. Yeah, it's okay either way. Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, and the Holy Saturday flow. We're stepping into the most powerful stretch of Holy Week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday is known as Maundy Thursday. This is the night of the Last Supper. Jesus breaks bread with his disciples, washes their feet, and gives them a new command to love one another. Now, let me interject something right here. At this point, Jesus had not confronted Judas, which means that Jesus washed the feet of the very one that he knew was going to betray him. He didn't do it after Judas left. Jesus wrapped a towel around him, bent down, kneeled down, and washed the feet of all of the disciples. And what an amazing act of love that is. Later that night, he prays in the Garden of Gethsemane and is arrested. Then comes Friday, Good Friday. Jesus is beaten, he is crucified, and he dies on the cross. What looks like the worst day in history becomes the greatest act of love the world has ever seen. And then the next day, what would represent today? Silence. Jesus is in the tomb. The disciples are scattered. Hope feels lost. But this is the space between the promise, Jesus, and the fulfillment, the resurrection, which is tomorrow. because Sunday is coming and Saturday reminds us that just because God is quiet doesn't mean that he is done. So as we finish up tonight's show, every step of Holy Week shows us something different, but all of it points to one truth. God had a plan all along. And Ronnie, if you would come back, and we're going to play the short song that you had, and then we will say goodnight, and then we are going to end with a wonderful Christian song, Then Came the Morning, is what we're going to end with. So say goodnight, Ronnie. Oh,
Good night, everybody.
Play the music, and then we'll say.
So this is the same drone show. I just think it's better music, but I think it shows a little bit more too. That song always gives me goosebumps, and the first song that I played in my truck was that one. That's a great song.
So now let's say goodnight, and I'll get it right this time.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. We will see you all Monday, and we really appreciate it. Good night.
Go to church tomorrow.
Do so.
If somebody makes you feel guilty about only coming to church on Easter, that's on them. You do the right thing and go to church tomorrow. I promise that most everywhere you're going to find people like Bill and Tanya, and the ones that have been in here tonight, the ones that we have at Old Union, that gave a little boy an Easter basket that made his day. You're going to find that kind of love in most every church. And, here at the Father's house, go to church. Just do yourself a favor. Go hear in person about the Savior that we've been talking about for the last half hour. So
come to Old Union. I'm making the eggs.
Yeah. If they're having meal at Bill and Tanya's church, and theirs is a yearly tradition. It's been gone back several years. So if you go there, I promise you're going to get good food, because I know Tanya's got a lot to do with it, and Tanya don't do no junk. So Old Union is going to have breakfast. Old Union is going to do food. Just go to church and feel the love that only comes from Jesus Christ, because tomorrow, that's what Resurrection Sunday is all about, the love of our Savior, Jesus Christ. So good night. We will be back Monday. We'll talk about Resurrection Sunday when we come back Monday. And until then, go out and do the right thing. Now enjoy Guy Penrod from the Gaither group as he sings Then Came the Morning. Love you all.
Proud of you, buddy.
They all walked away, nothing to say. They just lost their dearest friend. All that he said, now he was dead. So this was the way it would end. The dreams they had dreamed were not what they'd seen. Now that he was dead and gone, the garden, the jail, the hammer, the nail, how could a night be so long? Then came the morning, night turned into day. The storm was rolled away, hope rose with the dawn. Then came the glory, shadows vanished before the sun. Death had lost and life had won, for morning had come. The angel, the star, the kings from afar, the wedding, the water, the wine. Now it was done. They'd taken her son, wasted before his time. She knew it was true. She'd watched him die too. She'd heard them call him just a man, but deep in her heart, she knew from the start, somehow